Welcome to Times Media and the St. Cloud Times Editorial Board endorsement interviews for the 2008 elections. The Editorial Board is the voice behind the Times Review, which appears daily on the opinion page and website. Board members are conducting this and other interviews involving races and issues on your 2008 Election Day ballot. Board members are Times Media Publisher and President Bill Albrecht, Executive Editor John Bodette, Opinion Page Editor Randy Krebs, Community Representative Dory Larison, and Times Building Manager Mark Hessler. The board has neither say nor involvement in directing Times news coverage. Similarly, Times reporters are not involved in this endorsement process.
Okay, we good, board?
Yep.
All right. Next question. Who's on?
It will be 4-3.
All right.
2-1.
This one is, what's your position regarding the appointment and election of Minnesota judges? So, we're at Jim.
My position regarding the appointment and election of Minnesota judges?
Yep.
I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, I believe that the system we have currently allows the people to vote on the judges, and then obviously they're appointed at the higher end. I mean,
Okay. All right.
I'm going to pass on this.
Okay. Larry.
Well, I think our judiciary is, one of the things that scares me the most is more politics in the judicial branch. And we need to aggressively address this issue. And the CRE Commission's recommendations, I think, is one area that we can go down. We had a forum probably about a year ago at the Whitney Center with the League of Women Voters, in which they presented some of their recommendations, with having the merit selection board making those recommendations to the governor, retention elections, and also, I think is what's most important, is an accountability standard and board that can give those accountability rankings or recommendations to the public. Because right now, when the public is going to the ballot box, they don't know who or what they're voting on when it comes to judicial elections. For the most part, that is. And we need to do much better. And it can't be a shift with an R and a D by the judges' names. And this came out because of the Republican Party of Minnesota taking this to the Supreme Court and wanting to have partisan judicial elections. And that is something that's very, very concerning. We have to have the trust in our judicial branch to be nonpartisan, to address cases of legal manner based on its merits and not based on who appointed you or what party you're a member of. We're not going to be able to remove partisanship fully from the judicial selection process, but we can try to minimize it and bring accountability to the election process by doing exactly what the CRE Commission recommends. So and also the majority of our judges, I got an email during the last legislative session, for this district court, the majority of our judges in this district support fully stand behind the CRE Commission recommendations.
Over here to Dan. Okay.
I think there's a large area of knowledge base that needs to be put out to the general public on this one. When the White versus Republican Party decision was made by the U.S. Supreme Court, that was basically saying that the records of judges needs to be open to the public. In fact, all of that access to information on how the judges have ruled in the past needs to be open so that they can make an educated decision. Saying that is going to create a partisan issue is a misnomer. Number one, we as the people of Minnesota have an obligation to ensure that the people that are over us and that are exercising rule over us, we have a say-so into their appointment. The CRE Commission does exactly the opposite. It sets up a board that basically chooses who's going to be a judge, looks through their recommendations, and then puts on a ballot as a single name. If you don't want, it's a retention election, if you don't want that person, you don't vote for him. There's no input whatsoever. What happened with the White versus Republican Party decision was now all of that information is available to the public. For once in Minnesota history, we can take a look at how these judges have ruled in the past, and we can actually make an educated vote. This is an important step in this evolutionary process of really electing judges that are doing right by the bench. We have had abuses from the bench, but there has never been the opportunity to hold these judges accountable because that's been shielded from the public, basically. So I put in a bill, 1261, that basically says there's a Judicial Oversight Commission that needs to be established to bring some of this accountability. a citizenry that basically comes together, and if there's a complaint against the judge, that goes before this quasi-grand jury, and then if there is merit to it, then it brings the judge forward for some charges. The current system that has been set up, since it was set up under Governor Quay's auspices, has not had one indictment on the judges since then, and that's been 20 years, I believe. There's a process here. The judiciary needs to be reviewed. It needs to be improved, but the Quay Commission goes in the opposite direction that we need to go as a people, as a government of the people and by the people.
I believe that it has to be nonpartisan, and I think we've just seen that in some ways it's not nonpartisan. I have to admit I don't know the details in the Quay Commission, but I do know that normally when you go to vote for a judge, there's just one name on the ballot. Sometimes there's two. I know the laws have changed that allow judges to advertise their candidacy, to put out lawn signs. I believe we have to make sure that it stays nonpartisan. We have to be careful with who's contributing to campaigns and things like that. And we certainly don't want our judges getting elected based on an ideology that they represent rather than being there to serve justice and uphold the law. So I have to admit I need more study on this issue, but I will say that whatever we can do to make sure that judge appointments and elections are nonpartisan is what we need to do.